probably thinking, Maya, you don't go to school. You're right, I'm 27. I haven't been to school in 9 years. However, as a crocheter and someone who loved back to school videos, I thought I'd put this one together, featuring 5 crochet pieces that you can make for back to school, or college, or work. If you aren't going back to school, of course you can still make these things as they're super practical for everyday life. But for trending purposes, I just call this video back to school projects. So I've got 5 tutorials for you today. These are super beginner tutorials, so if you're just starting out crocheting, these will be perfect for you. So let's get on with the first tutorial. So firstly, we've got a laptop case. This is going to be, again, super simple. So to make this laptop case, I've got some chunky yarn, and I'm going to list all the yarn that I use in the description below. But I'm using 2 chunky yarns, and I'm going to join them together just so the laptop case is really sturdy and your laptop is protected. Also, you can make this for an iPad. You can make it to your size laptop, which I'll show you how. I'm basing mine off of a 13-inch MacBook Pro, but I'll show you how you can measure for your size device. I'm also using an 8mm crochet hook, just because my yarn is super chunky. So you can decide to use 1 chunky yarn, but I am going to be using them both together. I also think this will make like a cool colourful effect on the laptop case. But basically how you're going to start is you're going to bring your yarn together, whether that's 1 or 2, and you're going to do a slip knot, pop your crochet hook in, and then you're going to start chaining. So once you've got your slip knot, you're now going to start chaining. So you're going to do as many chains as the width of your device. So if I've got my laptop here, I'm just going to chain to the width of this. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 20 chains, which is the length of my device. I've just done 2 more chains because this will be the start of the next row. So I'm going to go into that second chain from the hook, and I'm going to do a half double crochet. So that's the start of the next row. And then I'm going to just continue doing half double crochets all the way down the length of the chain. Make sure your tension isn't too tight, as chunky yarn, especially 2 chunky yarns together, can be quite tricky to crochet and it can be quite straining on your hands. So make sure your tension is nice and loose, because you don't want to be straining your hands too much. I'm going to continue down the chain and then I'll come back to you. So once you've got to the end of the chain, done 1 half double crochet in that last chain, and you're just going to do 2 more, as this will create a rounded shape at the end of the bag. So 1 and 2. Don't worry about your ends too much, because we can hide those right at the end. So now we're going to go down the other side of the chain. So if you just find your gaps, so there's the next one is there. So again, half double crochets. So I'm just going to go right to the end and then I'll get back to you. So I've just finished the length of the other side of the chain, And when you get to your last loop, you're going to add 2 half double crochets like you did on this side, just to get that rounded edge. So 1, 2, and then where you started your first half double crochet, that's where you're going to start the next row. And basically now it's really simple. You're just going to be doing half double crochets all the way around. There's basically no rows, it's just sort of going up in a spiral. So I'm just going to start the next stitch in there. Oh. And so you can see it starting to make shape. You've sort of got this like boat shape. But once you start going round, it's gonna go straight up and this bottom bit will stay sort of rounded like that. But again, just half double crochets round and round and round and round until you get your desired length for your case. So I'm gonna start doing a bit of that and I'll catch up with you about halfway and show you the progress. So I just thought I'd show you once you get to the edge bit, there's no increases, you're just going round in half double crochets as normal in each stitch. So I'm just checking in, I'm probably about 1/3 of the way done. I think it's looking really good so far. You can see the rectangle shape taking place, but my wrists are feeling it. So reminder to do your crochet stretches. I've just annoyingly run out of yarn even though I'm nearly at the end, so I'm just going to add on this other colour to my light blue and then keep going. So I've just finished the last row and I'm just going to check the sizing and see if the laptop fits. Perfect. So now I'm just going to tie off my ends. So I'm just going to snip the ends. So I've just cut off the end and now I'm going to just do a slip stitch into the next stitch. And then weave the ends in and out of these loops so it's hidden. And then I can just tie them onto those tail ends there, so it's, and then just snip those off. And you can either leave it just like that, but I'm going to make a little loop and sort of like a knot thing so I can just keep it secured and the laptop doesn't fall out. So I've just got this bit of yarn and I'm going to find the middle part of the case and just pull that through and then find the stitch next to it, pull that through, and then we've got a little loop there. And then on this other side, to make this sort of button, I'm going to make a small chain and then slip stitch to the other side, and I'm just going to sort of knot it together so it creates like a little ball. I'm just going to double loop that through so it doesn't come insecure. Like that, so that's secure and that loop will stay there. And then I'll just knot that on the other side. A bit more hidden, but I'm just going to snip them. and then you've got your little loop to secure it. And that's your final finished laptop case. Very happy with it. And now I'm going to start the next tutorial. The next we're going to make a lanyard. So this lanyard is going to be like a cord, and it's going to be attached to this D-ring lobster clasp, and I'll link some below for you to purchase for this lanyard, but I'm going to show you how to make this now. And the beginning bit's a bit fiddly, but it's basically the same stitch for the length of the lanyard. So let's get into it. So for the lanyard, I'm going to be using this chunky yarn and a 4.5mm hook. You're going to leave a long tail end of yarn like that, and then you're going to pop your hook underneath and bring that tail round like that. You're going to pop your D-ring underneath, following that bit of yarn there. This is the Boucle side yarn, and you're going to pull your tail through the D-ring so it's on the other side. Now it was quite fiddly because you're holding 3 different things. So you're going to use the tail as your working yarn, keeping the Boucle yarn along the D-ring. The loop on your hook counts as your first stitch. You're going to wrap the yarn, the tail yarn, around your hook, bring it forward and through the D-ring. So we'll do that again. So around the front of the hook, around the front of the D-ring, pull it through, and you can see these loops are forming. So we'll do that again. Oh, round, bring it to the front and through to the back. So you can do as many loops as you want depending on the size of your ring. I'm going to keep going. So this is why it's important to have that long tail so you don't run out of yarn. So I've got my 10 loops, and then I'm going to bring this tail yarn, loop it round the hook and pull the yarn through all 10 loops. So it can be a bit fiddly, so just do it slowly, making sure you're not getting caught on the loops. And then you can just pull the tail through, and that's the beginning of that. So then you're going to pop your hook through those 10 loops again, trying not to pick up that tail bit. And then taking the Boucle end of the yarn, you're going to again pull the yarn through those 10 loops again. So bringing it to the other side, and then you've got that starting loop. So I'd say try not to keep your tension too tight, otherwise it all tightens together. You want to keep it fairly loose. And now you're going to go through the middle of each of those loops, making sure it's this bit of yarn, because you'll have that tail end underneath and this bit at the top, and you're just going to pick up a loop in between. So finding, so it's that one, going in between each of the loops. So making sure you're picking up this Boucle end bit of yarn and not the tail, and just pulling up a loop in between those previous loops, making sure your tension isn't too tight. And then the last 2 loops. And then I'm going to pull that yarn through all of these loops. So you'll loop back to the other side. And you're basically just going to keep doing that, and it's going to form this cool pattern. So I'll do it another time. So going through each loop. And then bring the yarn to the other side, and you can see the pattern forming. So yeah, I'm going to keep going with that until I get my desired length, and I'll catch up a bit later.
You ask him to ask me to ask Jackie if she likes it. Just don't say that I told you.
So once you've finished the length of your lanyard, you can just sort of measure it by where you want your keys or your card to hang. I'm going to show you how you can attach this to your lobster clasp. Firstly, you're going to get your yarn. I'm going to make sure there's a long piece left and just cut that. And then I'm just going to pull that loop and bring the yarn through, all the way through. Like that. So you're going to take the beginning of your lanyard. You're going to pop that over the top of there, and you're just going to sew this through. So you're going to go through the clasp, through the other side, and in between those first two loops, making sure to come out through the other side, through those two loops on this side, making sure it's tight. Pop the needle through the ring, find the next two loops, pop your needle through there, come out on the same side. And making sure it's really tight. And through that last loop. And then that's nice and secure together. And then I'm just going to pop this, sort of weave this in here. Hide those ends, knot them together in there so you can't see them. And I can just snip those, and then that's nice and secure. So I am just gonna add another colour along the side of this just to jazz it up a bit more, but you can obviously just leave it like this. So our next project is a pencil pouch / case. So I'm going to use 2 yarns and make it stripy. So I've got these chunky yarns, and I think I'm going to go for a 4mm hook. So let's get started with that. So we're going to start with a slip knot and begin our chain. So I'm going to measure this chain against a pen to make sure it can fit a pen. So I've got a chain of 30, which it will stretch out slightly, and then I'm just going to chain 2, which will start my first half double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over and go into the second loop from the hook, do a half double crochet, and then do that along the chain. and I'll just continue that and get back to you when I'm done. So I'm just at the end of my chain. I've got my last chain to go through, but this is where we're going to change the colour of our yarn. So I'm going to start the half double crochet, pop the hook in the loop, get my next colour, and then attach that and bring that through all 3 loops. And then you're ready to start your next row. So I'm going to chain 2, turn my work. I'm going to keep this attached because we'll use it for the next row. Do a half double crochet in that first stitch, and then rest of the chain. So I'm going to continue working on this, changing the colour of my yarn. I'll just note, you don't have to make it stripy, you can do it all in one colour. So yeah, I'm going to keep going until I get my desired number of rows, and then I'll get back to you. So I've just finished up 23 rows, and I'm going to snip this purple yarn. I'm going to keep this pink yarn on here because I'm going to use it to assemble the pencil pouch together. So now I'm just going to fold in my piece of fabric like that, and we're just going to use this yarn to sew these sides together and these sides together, and so it'll sort of open up like that, and these sides will be attached. So I'm going to get my darning needle. I'm going to tuck in these ends inside. And then I can just start sewing this together. So make sure you go through all the layers. So I'm going to go up that way, and then I'll go down the bottom bit. I'm just going to weave that through, just get to the middle again. And I can sew the bottom bit together. And I can just tie that off to secure it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So once you've sewed up each side, it's pretty much done, but I'm just going to secure it with a button, and I'm going to add a little loop. So I'm just going to attach my button first. And that's the final pencil pouch finished, which doesn't just have to be for pencils, it could be for makeup or like toiletries or even your crochet stuff. It's the next day, so I didn't get time to finish that video, so excuse the outfit change, but we're now on to our 4th project, which is a hair scrunchie. So I've got my yarn here, and I'm going to use a 4mm hook. So you'll also need a hairband. This is just a regular hairband, and I'm going to show you how to make your hair scrunchie. So we're going to start by making a slip knot. and then we're going to be crocheting round the hairband. So we're just going to start by doing single crochets all the way around. And you want to make sure that you keep pushing them down so they're tightly packed together, like that. And you're just going to do this all the way around the hairband until it's covered. Once you've gone all the way around, you're going to go back to the first stitch you made, and you're going to do a double crochet into there. Again, you're just going to do this all the way around the hairband till you get back to the beginning. So I've just gone round that row and I'm back at the beginning. So now in that first double crochet we made, I'm just going to start a new row and keep going round. So I'm back at the beginning, and this next step is optional. You can leave it as it is, but I'm going to add another bit of yarn just to make it a bit more pretty. So you can do it in a different color of this yarn, or you could add in some mohair. It's entirely up to you. So I'm just gonna pop my hook into the next stitch and pick up this new bit of yarn with a slip stitch. And then I'm just going to continue round with a row of single crochets. So it just makes this pretty fluffy edge. So I'm going to continue all the way around. So I'm back at the beginning, so I'm just going to do the last single crochet. And then in the first stitch, I'm just going to do a slip stitch. Cut my yarn. And that's your scrunchie. So now I'm just going to weave in all these ends so they're not showing. So we finished our fourth project. This is so cute, and I'm definitely going to make more of these in different colours. So I'm just going to pop it in my hair and see how it looks. So now we're on to the fifth and final project, which is a bookmark. This is a flower bookmark, which is so adorable. So let's just get straight into the tutorial. So what you'll need is your yarn colours. So because this is a flower, I'm going to be doing it in sort of flowery colours, but you can do it in any colour you want, or you can do it in one colour. So yeah, let's get on with the tutorial. So we're going to start off with the middle of our flower. So I'm going to do a magic ring. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to do 11 half double crochets around the ring. So that first chain 2 counts as your first half double crochet, so you should have 12 by the end, and then you're just going to pull on the tail end and join on the first stitch with a slip stitch. So that's the middle part done, and now we can start on the petals. So we're going to do a slip stitch, and then you can just pop your hook anywhere on your inside bit. We're just going to do a slip stitch, and then you're going to chain 3. And then in your next stitch you're going to do 4 treble crochets. So that is like a double crochet, except you're yarning over twice. So popping my hook in the stitch, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you're going to do that 3 more times into that same stitch. So once you've done your 4 treble crochets, you're going to chain 3, and then in the next stitch you're just going to do a slip stitch, and that's your first petal. So we're going to repeat that 5 more times until you have 6 petals. So I'll do it again. We're going to chain 3, and the next stitch 4 treble crochets. Chain 3, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. So these petals will sort of start to overlap, but you're going to do it 4 more times until you have 6 petals. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back to you. So I've just finished my last petal, so I'm going to cut my yarn, pull it through, and yeah, it does look a bit crowded, but you can sort of put them over each other. Like so. So now I'm just going to hide all my ends, and we can start on the stem. So I've got my next bit of yarn for the stem. I'm just gonna do a slip knot, I'm going to chain 20, so once I've done that chain, and then I'm going to go back along the chain doing single crochets. And then once I've gone up the length of that chain, I'm just going to secure it at the top with a slip stitch. And that's your finished bookmark. I also just made this cute little keyring, which you can also do with this flower pattern. I just added a single chain and attached it to this clasp. So that's all 5 projects done. Cue montage. Again, I'll mention any materials that I use in the description, and if you recreate any of these tutorials, make sure to tag me on social media, and I'll have the links in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck if you're going back to school or college, or if you're still at work. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Come and be in my video. So I'm going to continue. Just don't know how to talk. So I'm going to
I do that all the time. That's me all the time.
continue.